Welcome to the Hellfire Book Club, where we don't just read books, we dissect them, rip out their guts, and leave them bleeding on the floor. Today, we're diving into the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix, a novel that doesn't just flirt with horror. It takes you by the throat and drags you screaming into the darkness of suburban life, where the true monsters may not be the ones with fangs. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires is a brutal and haunting exploration of fear, trust, and the deep, insidious evils that can hide behind charming smiles in quiet neighborhoods. Set in the 1990s in a suburban town in South Carolina, the story follows Patricia Campbell, a housewife whose life revolves around her children, her husband, and her book club, a circle of women who gather to discuss true crime novels while sipping on sweet tea. But the seemingly idyllic life takes a dark turn when James Harris, a mysterious and charismatic stranger, moves into the neighborhood. As children begin to go missing and gruesome deaths occur, Patricia suspects that James Harris is not who he appears to be. What follows is a relentless descent into horror as Patricia and her fellow book club members realize that they might be the only ones who can stop the monster living among them, a monster that may very well be a vampire. Let's talk about our soon-to-be traumatized cast. The protagonist, Patricia, is a complex character, a devoted mother and wife who finds herself thrust into a nightmarish situation that forces her to confront her deepest fears. Her transformation from a somewhat passive housewife into a determined, if terrified, vampire hunter is both believable and compelling. Hendrix does a masterful job of peeling back the layers of Patricia's psyche, exposing her insecurities and her fierce love for her family. But let's be real. Some of her decisions? It's like she's never seen a horror movie before. You almost expect her to walk right into the vampire's den with a smile on her face. The antagonist, James Harris, is a perfect blend of charm and terror. Hendrix crafts him as the embodiment of the charismatic predator, a creature who uses his good looks and smooth talk to disarm his prey. But beneath that charming exterior lies something much darker, a being driven by an insatiable hunger who views humans as nothing more than cattle to be fed upon. The tension between his outward appearance and his true nature adds a chilling layer to the narrative. The dynamic between Patricia and the other members of the book club is tense from the outset, but as the story progresses, their friendships disintegrate like sugar in a rainstorm. Kitty, Grace, Slick, and the others are all well-drawn characters, each with their own motivations and flaws. Their camaraderie is tested as they face the horrifying reality that they are alone in their fight against the darkness. Hendrix masterfully depicts how their fears and suspicions gradually turn them against each other, heightening the sense of dread that permeates the book. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires explores themes of trust, fear, and the primal instincts that lie just beneath the surface of polite society. Hendrix's horror is multifaceted. There's the raw, physical fear of being hunted, the creeping dread of the unknown, and the disturbing realization that the real monsters might not be supernatural at all, but the ones we see every day in our communities. The setting of the 1990s southern suburb isn't just a backdrop. It's an oppressive, sentient being that seems hell-bent on swallowing these characters whole. The deeper Patricia and her friends venture into the mystery of James Harris, the more their seemingly peaceful neighborhood closes in around them, trapping them in a nightmarish loop of fear and despair. Hendrix uses the familiar trappings of suburban life, cul-de-sacs, book clubs, PTA meetings, to create a stark contrast with the horror lurking just beneath the surface. This contrast amplifies the tension, making the moments of horror all the more shocking and impactful. Hendrix also delves deeply into themes of racism and sexism, intricately weaving them into the fabric of the narrative. Racism in the novel is portrayed not just through overt acts of discrimination, but also through the subtler, insidious ways it manifests in the everyday lives of the characters. The predominantly white neighborhood where Patricia and the other book club members live is depicted as a place of privilege, where the residents are largely blind to the struggles of the Black community living nearby. The fear and distrust of outsiders are palpable, and this racial tension is exacerbated when James Harris, a white man who embodies the darkest aspects of the vampire mythos, begins preying on the most vulnerable members of the Black community, particularly children. But let's be honest here, no book is perfect. When it comes to pacing, the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires might feel like it's dragging its feet in the middle. The book spends a lot of time building up the suburban setting and the lives of its characters, which is great for world building, but can make you wonder if you've stumbled into a Southern Living magazine instead of a horror novel. Some readers might also find the plot a bit predictable. Seasoned horror fans might spot some of the twists as easily as headlights on a dark, empty road. But despite these critiques, the novel's strengths far outweigh its weaknesses. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires is not for the faint of heart. It's a dark, chilling story that will linger in your mind long after you've closed the book. Hendrix's ability to weave horror with psychological depth makes this novel a standout in the genre. If you're a fan of horror that leaves a lasting impression, the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires is a must-read. Thanks for tuning in to the Hellfire Book Club, where we don't just read, we delve into the darkest corners of literature and drag out the monsters hiding there. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that like button, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what books have left you looking over your shoulder. Got any suggestions for future episodes? Drop them below. Your support helps us bring you more tales that challenge your imagination, test your bravery, and keep you on the edge of your seat.